How to choose the right rod. First question you need to ask yourself is, do you want a spinning or a casting rod? Spinning rods feature larger guides and they're set up for a spinning reel where the reel would be below the rod blank, and you have these larger guides to accommodate all that big amount of line that comes off a spinning reel on the bottom. Spinning rods are typically used for lighter line, more finesse applications. So if you're fishing with live bait, for example, where you're throwing something light like a live minnow or a night crawler or something like that, or if you're throwing really light plastics for bass fishing or crappie fishing, anything like that where you're using lighter line and lighter lures, spinning rods really do shine. Now if you're going to fish for with heavier line and bigger baits, then you're going to look at a casting rod. Now that you've decided that you want a bait caster or a spinning rod, you're going to look at action of the rod. The action of the rod is how much of the rod actually bends. If just the tip of the rod bends, it makes it really accurate for casting, so you can cast into really tight locations and make very precise casts with your lure. It also helps you set the hook faster. So if you're texaposing your bait, so your hook's actually buried inside a plastic so that it's weedless, it'll pull the hook through faster on that hook set. It'll give you more backbone and more power if you're in a close quarters situation with a fish around vegetation or around heavy cover where you can pull that fish physically away from where you're fighting them back to yourself at the boat or from shore, wherever you're fishing. Next up would be the power of the rod. The power of the rod is how physically strong, how much physical weight the rod can actually pull back and hold, and how thick and heavy a line you can use. The lighter power your rod is, the easier it is to cast and the lighter lures you can throw, but the more powerful it is, the more you can use heavy line and use it for catching larger fish or throwing larger lures. When you're using a bait caster, fast action's typically used for textapose lures or lures with like a brush guard on a jig or anytime you're fishing on the bottom, but they also make rods with what's called a moderate action. So that's like in these Mike Iaconelli rods here, this is a delay rod, he calls it. So the rod tips, the bend of the rod is delayed. It's not super fast. So it bends all the way down the blank. So this thing actually bends all the way down, gives it a slow taper to the blank. So if you're using treble hooks on a moving bait, so you're just retrieving a bait through the water fast, and a fish eats it, it gives you the ability to slowly load the rod up so the fish doesn't spit that bait out before it gets those little treble hooks in it. And it also prevents them from jumping around or pulling those little hooks out, because you're not overpowering that fish and those bait and those hooks. So if you're looking for casting rod and you want to throw moving baits, look for a moderate or slow action rod. If you're looking to fish on the bottom or with heavier line and get fast hook sets, look for a fast action rod. And if you're looking to go finesse fishing, find yourself a spinning rod. Take care and go catch them.